in writing. We will respond to all questions in writing, and we will respond to every question at the same time to every individual respondent by posting it to our RFP webpage. So with that being said, before I go into introductions, Holly, if you would, could you walk us through the WebEx?
Yes, thank you, Michael. And I did notice that we did lose a little bit of you for a moment. I was muting all callers so that we could have a clear connection, and accidentally muted you as well, Michael. But I believe it was brief. So I'll be happy to sort of introduce everyone to our platform. And again, my name is Holly Lopez, and I'll be the host today. As you know, we're using the WebEx platform, and there are a few technical items just to review to be able to give you the full participation. All participants will be muted until the Q&A portion of the call. During the Q&A portion, we invite you to use the raised hand icon. You'll see on your screen a participants button on the taskbar, the lower rim of your screen, and you'll want to click on that button, and it'll actually display all the participants, or what WebEx calls our panelists. Your name will be displayed there, and in the lower right-hand corner, you'll want to click on an icon that looks very similar to a megaphone. While you click on that, there is a hand icon. So when you click on that, it notifies myself and our staff that you will want to participate and have a question or a comment. And the same thing goes for when you've changed your mind, or you no longer have a question. You click on, click off. And we encourage everyone to be in a quiet location while you are speaking so that we can hear you clearly. And then, as Michael said too, if any technical issues arrive at any point during the call, or if your connection is disrupted for any reason, a full recording will be available and posted on our website. And now, Michael, feel free to begin your introduction.
Thank you so much, Holly. Again, in case I was muted for some of that, my name is Michael Visconti, Management Service System. We're going to do very quick introductions of the key members of our RFP team, and we will go right into this pre-proposal call. It'll be very much structured, as you will see on your screen, with the agenda. Thank you, Holly, for displaying that for all of us. We're going to go through a brief introduction of the RFP. I'm going to highlight key dates and deadlines that are coming up. And then I will hand it over to my Executive Director, Abby Yant. We will have a brief discussion of the Greater Insight platform. From what I'm told, the majority of the prospective respondents have registered, and we have fixed any issues that were outstanding, which is great. I also have on the call our Senior Actuary, Mike Clark. And after we have done all of those discussions of the RFP, as Holly mentioned, we will open it up to questions, and you will use the hand raise icon, and we'll get through those as quickly as possible. I do ask when we do get to the questions, if you have several questions, do allow us to answer them one at a time so that we can make sure that our whole team gets you the full and complete answer. But as I mentioned earlier, any question you ask us on this call, we will do our best, knowing that we are going to be in the hot seat. But pursuant to our RFP, all communications and all questions must be submitted in writing. They must be emailed to us. You're all familiar with my email address at this point, I am sure, but it's michael.visconti@sfgov.org. And we'll respond to those questions very quickly for you. I will start by saying, if you have very urgent questions or technical questions, do not worry. We will not be waiting until the end of September to answer them. We will have several sessions of answers posted to the RFP webpage. With that being said, I'd like to have my Executive Director, Abby Yant, introduce herself, followed by Ann and Mike Clark at Aon. Abby, you may still be on mute.
Okay, I thought I hit the right button. How's that? Okay. I'm Abby Yant. I'm the Executive Director at San Francisco Health Service System, and very excited to be at this point in this process where we are going to market for a product for our active and early retiree population. And as you have seen, I'm sure at this point, We have lofty goals at San Francisco Health Service System and really are looking for partners that will help us actualize these vision and goals in helping us have a healthier population that is readily accessing the many health services that are available to them through our products. So we have a very large and diverse population, very committed public servants, and we really look forward to partnering with health plans in the future, as we have in the past, to make a difference in the lives of our members. So thank you very much. And I'll turn it back over to the team to describe the many details that are required. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Thompson, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure thing. My name is Ann Thompson, and I'm the account executive to the San Francisco Health Service System here with Ann. We'll talk more in a minute.
Thank you so much, Ann. Mike?
And Mike Clark, I'm the lead health actuary for AON on behalf of the San Francisco Health Service System, and will be involved in all aspects of financial evaluation of this RFP.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to also have my team introduce themselves. None of this would have been possible, especially knowing that we are preparing for open enrollment without Vanessa Price Cooper and William Kudinoff. Is the executive secretary to both our executive director, Abby Yant, as well as to the San Francisco Health Service Board. Vanessa Price Cooper is my senior analyst, and William Kudinoff is my principal contracts analyst. William, Holly, and then Vanessa, if you'd mind introducing yourself briefly. Thank you.
This is William Kudnov. Been with the City and County of San Francisco for a while. I assist with contracts and RFPs. I work directly for Michael, and I'll be available for any kind of help on the backside.
Thank you so much. Holly?
Hello again. My name is Holly Lopez, and I'm the board secretary for the Health Service System and the executive assistant to Director Yant.
Thank you so much. Vanessa?
Hello, my name is Vanessa Price Cooper. I am, like Michael said, the senior analyst for our contracts team. And I am here to support you in anything you need. You have my contact information, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Vanessa is also doing the bearing the laboring oar on trying to record as many of the questions that come in. But again, as I mentioned earlier, do make sure that you submit them to us in writing after the call. We will get prompt answers posted to the RFP webpage. So without further ado, what I'd like to begin with is some of the key dates and deadlines. At this point, while it has only been about 48 hours, we do want to make sure that any prospective respondent doesn't miss some of the key dates coming up. Obviously, first and foremost, we have tried to isolate these on Wednesdays to the best of our ability. On the 23rd of this month, there will be a notice of intent to bid that is going to be in the form as presented in the RFP on Appendix C1. It's very straightforward, but more than anything, it is to designate an authorized representative to speak on behalf of your team. Do not worry if anything happens during this time. We know it's in the middle of COVID, and there's obviously people could get sick. You are absolutely welcome to change that individual. The instructions are in the RFP for how to do that. We just need to make that official and send us an email with the new contact information. On the 30th, 1 week following that date, there will be a deadline for RFP questions. As I mentioned before, the only reason why we have a drop-dead deadline for RFP questions is we want to make sure that there is sufficient time after we answer them for the proposals to be completed, should any of those questions affect how you are responding to the RFP. So that will be on the 30th of this month. 1 week later, we will ask that you submit the conflict of interest disclosure statements. Again, as mentioned in the RFP, interest disclosure statements are not for evaluation purposes. These are part of our abundance of caution, our abundance of transparency when it comes to all of our contracts prior to working with the San Francisco Health Service System. I was the lead for contracts compliance for CMD at SFO. So we've been doing this a long time, and we adhere to not just the administrative code, but including the Contract Monitoring Division's Chapter 14, as well as our internal policies and procedures. And as many of you have noticed, we do this very much by the book, all communications going in writing, anything needing to be routed to us whatsoever, and all communications and response coming out at the same time. 2 weeks following the conflict of interest disclosure state, you all make sure to submit your proposals through the TVS Greater Insight system that Ann will speak to shortly. Fortunately, it does seem like everyone is up and running with the system. If you have not, please reach out to us and we will get that taken care of ASAP. Again, this gives us time to, following the submissions of proposals, we will have a period under which our colleagues at Aon will review what has come in, make sure that everything is clear and concise. If there is anything that requires clarification, that will be done in the intervening weeks between the 21st of October and the end of November. Following that period is when it will go off to our evaluation panel. We keep the identities of our evaluation panel completely confidential. Again,
Michael, we're not hearing you.
Thank you. Apologies for that. I somehow got on mute. So as I was saying, following the submission of the proposals, it will go off to Aon and our esteemed colleagues over at Aon, and they will do an analysis, make sure that all the submissions are clear and concise, and should there be any need to clarify any of your responses, they will of course reach out to you. That will all be done in writing during that intervening period between then and the end of the month of November. At that time is when the panel evaluation process will begin. Our panel members are kept completely confidential. We do this because we want to make sure that there is absolutely no possibility for conflicts of interest or any ex parte communications between any individuals who are related to or in connection with or have partnerships with or who are actually respondents reaching out to them, just so we can make this process as fair and balanced as possible. At that point, it will go off to the evaluation panel. That evaluation will take place over the month of December. After which we will be notifying all of you if you have been selected for oral interviews, which, if you've read the RFP, will be that first full week of January. More information about the oral interviews will be forthcoming at that time. However, one of the benefits of this RFP process happening during COVID is that everything will be done via WebEx. Typically, we conduct these oral interviews in person, and as anyone who was on one of our previous RFPs can tell you, they can be a challenging experience, but it's an opportunity for us to see at HSS and with our actuaries how your team collaborates, how you work as a team, and how you can answer some of our questions that get into some more of the subtle nuances of your responses. So again, the key dates to remember there, these are all required dates. We will be sending out, however, reminders for these dates. Once you have submitted your notice of intent to bid, my esteemed colleague will be sending out a reminder. If you have submitted one of those and you have perhaps not submitted any questions, we'll just make sure that those come out before the 30th of this month. And we'll also send out a reminder to make sure that you submit your conflict of interest disclosure statement. And finally, if we have not received a proposal yet, we'll make sure there wasn't any kind of technical glitch with the Greater Insight system. That being said, I will hand this again to my Executive Director, Abby Yant. If there's anything else you'd like to mention about the scope, kind of what we're looking for. Much of this is contained as well in the first section of the RFP, and much of what I just spoke to is in the third section of the RFP. But again, let me hand it off to Abby.
Yeah, thank you. I'm scrolling through the document, so I'm sure that I don't overlook anything that I don't want to miss. But we are, have comprehensive plans with all of our and expect to continue to do that. We are really looking for partners that will help give our membership choice in their plans, and are expecting to see proposals that will compete with each other in order to really keep a balanced enrollment across our plans. So that will be a key element. We are very interested in looking at ways in which value-based payments are integrated into your models, and that we're paying for value and through quality measures and tools, and that the whole person is being considered in that. We do have an older population, and so management of our membership and the chronic diseases that they may have, we'd like to see a later onset. And we also would like to see ways that we can work with a workforce that is in the public sector and having many different jobs that lead to certain kinds of health risk. So that's the essence of what we're looking for. We know that there's many ways in to think about how the care gets coordinated, the emergence of integrated delivery systems and how that may benefit our members. These are all things that we're looking forward to learning new ways of doing business with you in the years to come. I think that's it for now, Michael.
Thank you so much, Anne. I'll hand it over to you on the Greater Insight tool.
Sure thing. Hopefully you can hear me. Ann Thompson from Aon. For the TV Greater Insight platform, I believe you are all up at if you are not, please contact Michael after the call, and we will work on any access issues that you may be having and throughout the process as well. The platform tool does have the capability to ask a question. We do ask that you keep those questions to technical issues that with the platform, the site, for Greater Insight team to assist you with. If they are related to the RFP in any way, the content, please direct those to Michael per the instructions in the RFP, and he can field those. If you're unsure, send them to Michael, and he'll field them to the appropriate party. The RFP, as Michael mentioned earlier, does close on October 21st. It will close at 12 noon Pacific. So please keep that in mind, that the system will shut down at that point. The materials that are on the site, we do ask that you do not modify any of the Excel kind of templates that you're responding in. Not to add any rows or delete rows or add columns. Please keep to the format that is in there. That greatly helps us on the back end with the analysis, and it helps the panel members as well. Let's see, anything else? And just generally, keeping marketing materials to a minimum is also greatly appreciated as you respond to those templates in the tool. Michael, did I miss anything?
No, that was perfect. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate it.
Great.
Briefly, I'll hand it off to Mike Clark, our actuary. Thank you again.
Thank you, Michael. Again, Mike Clark. I will be leading the actuarial work around the RFP evaluation. And just a brief mention that as you look through the RFP information that we are requesting multiple funding approaches within the scope of this RFP. So I just wanted to make sure all potential respondents were aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this point, the main purpose of this is not just to introduce you to us, but to give you an opportunity to, as well as any questions you may have. As mentioned by Holly at the beginning, we will open this up to questions and answers. Please use the hand raise icon in the participant drop-down menu, and I will have Holly, unmute you one by one. If you would, please introduce yourself, and we will confirm that, and we will answer your question to the best of our ability. But again, if we are unable to answer it off the cuff, remember that we will answer all these questions in writing and post them to the RFP page. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. So I can see that there's a raised hand. Cameron, I'll be using people's first name. Cameron has a raised hand. Cameron, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have a handful of questions. I'm wondering if you prefer that I ask them all at once or maybe ask a few and then give a chance for others to ask questions.
Thank you for the courtesy. Yeah, let's try to ask them, if we can, one at a time. Perhaps maybe limit the first three to kind of your first three questions. Give us an opportunity to answer them to the best of our ability at this time. But again, you do seem to be very well prepared, so be sure to submit them all in writing as well.
Will do. Thank you. So the first few questions are really underwriting related. We're very excited to jump into this and start rating it. So our underwriter had some questions around keeping the self-funded plan. Is that an intent of the HSS? And if so, will the eligibility remain the same?
It's a great question. If you look at section 1.3 of the objectives of the RFP, what you will see is what we call kind of the system competition model. And that's a really good example of both there and in our discussions with the Health Service Board, the possible future iterations of our suite of benefits and what they may look like. I will allow if anyone on our team wants to expound on that a little bit further, please feel free. But that is kind of an excellent part to for what the future state might be.
Yeah, this is Mike Clark. I mean, just from a standpoint of the future direction of the funding of the programs, again, that's why we're asking for multiple approaches in this RFP to gather that input to factor into SFHSS decision-making for the 2022 plan year.
Got it. Thank you both. Another question related to underwriting. We reviewed the experience data. Thank you for providing it. Is it possible to get drug and medical separated for the HMO? And then also on a related question, are the large claimants for Kaiser included in the data already provided? Some of the tabs were just labeled HMO, and we didn't know if that meant all HMOs or just non-Kaiser HMOs.
Great question. I think for the first question, we may need to check on whether we are able to do that unless we know at this time. As to the second, if you do know the answer to that, Anne or Mike, I think we might be able to answer that at this time regarding Kaiser.
Right. The data file does not include large claims for Kaiser.
Okay, got it. Is that something we'd be able to receive if requested?
I would defer to Michael. Maybe that's a question to be submitted in writing. We'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, if you can submit that, Cameron, earlier rather than later, that'll allow us to assess whether we can get that done in our timeline. So if you would, that would definitely be one I'd like to get this week. Sorry, obviously I know who you are because we have all been conversing with getting people set up with greater insight. But if you could just state your full name and your organization, just so everyone on the call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Cameron Gazog with Sutter Health Plus.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's do one more question and then we can hand it off to someone else and have you come back around.
Yeah, just one real quick thing though, just to finish out the large claim question is we cannot necessarily guarantee at a specified amount, but with your question, if you could, define the large claim amount, we can do our best to look into knowing that we may not be able to precisely pin at a particular dollar amount that you may be seeking.
Got it. Duly noted. Thank you. We'll clarify that in our written question. So do we want the early retiree rates to be inclusive with the active employees or to separate them on their own? And this is the last underwriting question for the time being.
Great question. I believe, Mike, the answer to that is to have them combined. Is that correct?
We presented specified requested rate tiering information for both active employees and early retirees within the framework of the request for proposal.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
And with the written questions, just a quick question about the process. With the written questions that we're going to submit after this this call is over, the answers for those aren't the same responses we're going to get in October. But those responses, we'll get those sometime this week. Is that right?
Yeah, what we're going to do is, depending on the volume of questions and our ability to get to them, we are going to answer them sort of in batches as they come in. We may get a wave. We already have a few that have come in, but we don't want to have you wait all the way until October. However, we do want you to know as the deadline for any more questions will be September 30th, only because we want to make sure that we have that last remaining week to answer any questions we haven't already posted to the site, and to make sure that those answers can be incorporated into your proposals over the following 2 weeks. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. All right, Holly, if we could do another hand raise. I see a few there.
Yes, I can see 2 raised hands. The first was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tamara. Welcome, Tamara. Tamara, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Tammy Watt with HealthNet, and my question is, it appears that you're looking for carriers to submit quotes for both HMO and PPO. Is it permissible to submit for one and not the other?
Thank you, Tammy. I think thank you for submitting this question also in advance. This is the one that we discussed yesterday, team, and I think if you take a look over at the RFP, there's a couple of sections there that address this. Yes, you can submit for one and not the other. If you also look at that section 1.3 where it shows the system competition model that was discussed at the Health Service Board meetings, you will see that the carriers for both the HMO and the PPO may not necessarily be the same carrier in plan year 2022. That being said, we also are looking for kind of collaborative approaches. So if the approach is a collaboration between 2 different entities, we accept it as well. Does that answer your question, Tammy? If anyone on my team wants to elaborate on that somewhat?
No, it does. That's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, Holly.
Next hand raised. I see Justine. Justine, you're unmuted. Welcome.
Hi, this is Justine DeMello from 2ndMD. As a point solution vendor for expert medical opinion, we noticed that some of the questions and space to provide responses and financials relating to our product are limited or unavailable. We also noticed from the instructions document that included a link to your strategic priorities. A separate EMO RFP was included as an action item. To best meet your needs, should we plan on answering only certain sections of this RFP, or should we expect a separate EMO RFP in the future?
Thank you. Very good question, and thanks for submitting that early to us. Again, one of the items in this RFP to start with is to realize that you do need to meet the minimum qualifications at this point with complete solutions that will address our entire population. Pursuant to the RFP, those minimum qualifications are listed in 1.5.1. However, as I mentioned earlier in response to Cameron's questions, if you are permitted to submit a proposal in coordination or in partnership with other service partners, that's detailed in section 3.5.2. And in fact, we strongly encourage collaboration or subcontracting with other entities to propose, as we put it, innovative, high quality, and cost-effective solutions and networks. You will see that described in section 1.2.2, 3.5.4, subsection 3. So at this time, directly in response to your question, I would say that there is not the ability to select only subsets of the response within the greater insight system. It would need to be a collaborative approach.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Holly, do we have another hand raised?
As of right now, I'm not seeing anyone with a raised hand. Can give callers a moment or two to think and press that button.
Thank you, Holly. I was about to do our health service board meeting, seeing none and hearing none, and move on. But yes, let's give everyone a second. There might be a delay. And again, of course, as this conversation is recorded, it will be posted to the RFP page along with every other item that you have seen regarding this RFP. And again, we will be here and actively awaiting your questions, and we will respond to them, as I mentioned, as quickly as we can. We will, of course, want to make sure that those answers are full and complete, so we will get the entire team to weigh in on them as needed. Let's see. Oh, thank you. I have our lead actuary, Mike Clark. This is in response to the question from you, Cameron. If you look to section 2.1.15 of the RFP, that's 2.1.15, that has a section describing the rate tiering, and that may address your question as well. Or also, it also may change the way in which you have laid out your question. So please take a look at 2.1.15. And we look forward to receiving your question. Thank you, Mike.
And Michael, we do have several hands raised at this time. I believe Robert M. was the first in line. Robert, can you hear us?
I can. Can you all hear me?
Yes, welcome.
All right, thank you. So in reviewing the files, we came across the requirement under the compliance for Ordinance 12X. And so we're interested if your team has determined if bidding contractors that may be headquartered in one of the listed states fit an exception category.
Thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, we do adhere very stringently to the ordinances of the City and County of San Francisco. That is actually an excellent question to be submitted in writing. As you know, you've probably looked at 12X already. For those who are not familiar, that is our banned states list. For a multitude of reasons that the city chooses not to engage in contracts with certain states that do not adhere to kind of equal benefits provisions, as well as LGBT rights. But again, thank you. That is a great question to be submitted in writing. There are exceptions. There are opportunities to work with the department overseeing 12X. And of course, we may actually ask for their assistance in responding to those questions. So please do submit that in writing. I do not have anyone from 12X on the call today. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we will call on Trey. Trey, you're unmuted.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. If you are accepting, as part of this proposal, offers for high deductible plans and subsequently HSA accounts.
Great question. Let me check. At this time, I don't think we laid out specifically we were asking for that. I don't think that's specifically in the RFP. However, it's not excluded. I would defer to. We might want to clarify that. Notice that it isn't bidding, and we will get you a response ASAP. That would be probably a good one to submit this week.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm not seeing any new. Oh, spoke too soon. Before I call in next caller, just a reminder, if you are no longer waiting, you can unraise your hand too. I just don't want to skip over someone who may be waiting and waiting, but raising your hand indicates that you're ready to talk. So our next caller would be Allison. Last name starts with a W.
Can you hear me okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the time today. Allison Wood with Accolade, and I know there's been an enormous amount of time and effort put in by your team to get to this point. My question is related to the objectives, section 1.3, and specifically the reference earlier to that health systems competition model. I know that the board, prior to release of the RFP, had reviewed various models, including evaluation of carve-out advocacy navigation vendors to support care coordination. Is carve-out advocacy solutions still being considered? And to your earlier points related to Second MD's question, I think, is it just in partnership, or is there an opportunity to submit a kind of standalone carve-out advocacy proposal at this time?
Great question. Yes, I'm glad. Yes, this is actually directly related to our answer that we provided earlier. We are looking for that kind of collaborative approach, which again could be a component and could be an excellent partnership opportunity. So thank you, Allison. I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
And I do see two raised hands. Justine and Tamara, I just want to make sure that, or Tammy, I'm going to unmute Justine. Justine, would you like to ask another question?
No, sorry, I will unraise it.
Yeah, no problem.
Not to worry, Justine. I had to go through a crash course in this WebEx as well just before this call. I'm used to using my, thank you.
Yeah. And I'm going to unmute Tammy just to see. Tammy, did you have another question?
Nope, mine was user error too.
Okay, great.
Apologies.
All right, no problem at all. Well, thank you all very much. I'm going to make one quick correction here, and we will post this agenda to the RFP webpage as well. The deadline for RFP questions is actually September 30th, 2020, not 2022. Apologies for that. That's in the kind of the footnote there, or the end note there. But again, on behalf of the entire SFHSS team, on behalf of our esteemed colleagues with AON, we'd like to thank all of you, both for your interest in partnering with SFHSS, with the questions we've already received, showing that you really have taken this to heart and reviewed the RFP, as well as the Greater Insight questionnaire in depth. And we just want to appreciate, show our appreciation for that level of detail. We know this is an aggressive timeline, but as you can see, it very clearly fits into our annual rates and renewal process. That being said, we are going to be available for your questions. Submit them. We will answer them as quickly as we can. We may respond back to you if we need something to be clarified. At this time, we will do all of that through emails. So just make sure that you all keep messaging my email box. And again, thank you very much. If there's anything else, one for just kind of a thank you from anyone on our team, Abby, Ann, or Mike. All right, I think we're good. We have given everybody a little bit of time left in their schedules. I hope everyone stays safe during this time, and thank you all. Holly, we can terminate the meeting at this point, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.